Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Josie's Point of View, where we focus on human interest stories from the Carolinas and beyond. Today's Friday and it's September the 29th, 2023. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're new to my channel, I'd like to extend to you a warm welcome. Thank you so much for stopping by. And if you're a returning viewer, by all means, thank you for coming back. You know, I always say the tide changes so frequently here on these YouTube streets, so you always have to acknowledge where your support comes from. And I want you to know I sincerely thank you for your support. Feel free to like and to share this video, and don't forget to subscribe. Well, the month of October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and we're starting a few days early, just a few days. The theme this year is Everyone Knows Someone, which is so very true. We may not want to believe it, but it's really true. And you know, the majority do not openly admit to intimate partner violence or domestic violence. And they suffer in silence. And by the time many of us find out, we're shocked, we're surprised because we missed all of the telltale signs. And sometimes for that victim, it's much too late. And I thought it would be helpful to begin with a teachable moment, just looking at the bigger picture: domestic abuse. Five facts everyone should know. One, domestic abuse is more than just physical violence. So just because he's not hitting on you doesn't mean he's not abusing you. Both women and men can be victims. There are many warning signs of abuse, and many of the signs we miss, and sometimes we miss them until it's too late. Abuse is never the victim's fault, never the victim's fault, and help is available. And so for the month of October, the entire focus, my primary focus, will be on discussing intimate partner violence in the Carolinas. I probably switch back and forth between North and South, but this is where I plan to stay for the entire month. And if this is not acceptable to some of my viewers, let me apologize in advance, but this is too major a topic to be ignored, and it's not something that I address every day. And you know, October is indeed Awareness Month. Sometimes we pretend this is not a problem, but it's much larger than any of us could ever imagine. And from where I sit, the best I can do is share information with my viewers, especially since many of these cases are not discussed outside of our state. And our first case comes out of Raleigh, North Carolina, and the date of this incident was August 29th, 2023. Now, on August 29th, a boater saw something unusual in the water at Jordan Lake and contacted the authorities. Now, the time was early afternoon. They said it was around 2:30 p.m. And police then reported finding a woman's body in the water in a location very close to a well-known boat dock. And from the very beginning, police let us know this was not an accident and this was not a suicide. They indicated they were conducting a homicide investigation. And a few days later, police sent out sketches of this unidentified woman, and they even identified the clothes she was wearing and the jewelry also that she had on when she was found. Now, these are two of the photos I shared on my social media pages. As you can see, she is indeed wearing pearls, and there was a special earring, police say, that was found very close to her body. Now, they were appealing to the public for any information to assist with her identification, and as expected, people began calling in. And those calls, along with fingerprint analysis, helped to confirm her identity. She was identified as 34-year-old Hadil Mikmat, a married woman living in the town of Apex here in North Carolina. We later learned that she was an immigrant from Iraq, and she had been in the United States for just about a year. So the question now was, who killed this young woman, and where was her husband? Now, if police suspected anyone at that time, they were not saying, they were definitely keeping it a secret as they continued their investigation. The reports indicated that police conducted searches at two homes that were associated with the deceased woman, one in Apex and one in Raleigh. And I found it strange that nothing was being said about her husband, yet we know from reports that she was married. But homes were being searched. That's all we knew. The news media had conversation with the deceased woman's brother. I'm not sure if it was conversation with him overseas or whether or not he was just in another state. But he indicated that he had spoken to his sister the day prior to when her body was found. But then again, specifics about the conversation were not disclosed. And just recently, police announced that the deceased woman's husband, pictured here, who had been somewhat of a mystery all along, they announced that he had been arrested. 34-year-old Omar Drabrek had been arrested and charged with murder. Police said he killed his wife and threw her body into the lake. He was charged with first-degree murder and concealment of an unnatural death. Now, he's currently locked up in the Chatham County Jail where bond had been denied. And maybe he thought that just because she was an immigrant, she had not been in the country very long, he thought that maybe no one would try to identify her. But kudos to Chatham County Police. Her alleged killer is now in custody. Now, he had a follow-up appearance on September 25th, but specifics about that appearance as well as subsequent or follow-on court dates were not made public. And now let's travel to the city of Fayetteville here in North Carolina to a very recent case. The date of this incident was September the 15th, 2023. According to reports, on the night of September 14th, 2023, police reported to a home here in the city after receiving notice that someone was deceased. Upon arriving, they found the resident of the home, 35-year-old Army veteran Jessica Moore, deceased on her sofa. She had been shot. It was reported that a male was seen fleeing the home after the shooting, but his name was not released to the public. So that was again around Thursday, the 14th, around 10 p.m. Now, just about 1 hour later, in the town of Southern Pines, which is very close to Fayetteville, a police officer from that jurisdiction attempted to stop a car for what was described as a traffic violation. As the officer got closer to the car, he discovered that the driver was dead inside from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Now, it so happened that this was the same individual that the Fayetteville police was looking for in relation to the death of Fayetteville resident Jessica Moore. Now, that male was identified as 37-year-old Tito Matos, and it was revealed that both he and Jessica Moore had been in a relationship. Police concluded that Matos shot and killed Jessica, then turned the gun on himself sometime later, and as already mentioned, he was found deceased in his car in Southern Pines from a gunshot wound to the head. And still in the city of Fayetteville, in fact, the very same week, September 16, 2023, we learned of another tragic loss. And this time, the news headline read, Fayetteville police investigating tragic domestic assault case resulting in 2 deaths. And according to reports, on September 16, police responded to a local resident in response to having received a distress call. Upon arriving at that residence, they found an adult male with a self-inflicted gunshot wound. That male was identified as 73-year-old Greg Melvin, and it was determined that Mr. Melvin was the person who made that distress call. He was transported immediately to the local hospital, but he later died from his injuries, and again, he had a self-inflicted gunshot wound. And while investigating the scene, police found another dead individual. This time, 82-year-old Rosalind Mazzilli. Preliminary investigation as well as findings from detectives and other officers led them to conclude that Ms. Mazzilli had been dead for some time. And that was later confirmed by the autopsy findings, which revealed that she was killed by a single gunshot wound and her wounds were several days old. So her injury was sustained several days before Craig Melvin made that distress call, and they concluded that a domestic incident resulted in the tragic death of both individuals. And whenever I read an article of this nature, I always take a few minutes just to read the comments from readers, and these two caught my eye. And the first reader wrote, she said, shaking my head, these are seniors. It's strange and sad. Well, I feel compelled to respond because while domestic assault resulting in death, 2 deaths is indeed sad, we really should not be alarmed because these are elderly people. We should not find it strange, and please let us not act as if being elderly serves as a disqualifier. Domestic assault affects all age groups, all races, all socioeconomic groups. So let us not be alarmed, just be informed. And the second comment was from a neighbor, and she wrote, I had not seen the wife or girlfriend since May. So obviously that was his girlfriend. For police and what was reported last Saturday to us, she had been dead for some time. They did not say how long. I thought she left him. He left the house on a stretcher by ambulance, and she left in a body bag in a van. And if I can just update, he also received a body bag. He just didn't get it in the same place. Two people dead, sadly. And for the final case on this video today, let's travel to Eden, North Carolina. The date was July 31st, 2023, and the location is important because it's Freedom Park, and this is a busy public park, and the time of day is mid-afternoon on a Sunday, while the public was out enjoying the afternoon with family members and friends, and like any other park on a Sunday in the summer, it's very, very busy. Lots of people, lots of activities going on at that time. And that 40-year-old Dr. Gwendolyn Riddick, a GYN doctor who works nearby at UNC Hospital, just happened to be in the park with her child's father. And as already mentioned, it was mid-afternoon, shortly after 2 p.m. Well, there was some type of argument between Dr. Riddick and her companion. And while she was in the parking lot standing next to her car, she was shot several times by that individual. Police promptly responded to the scene after they were notified, that shots were fired. They got there quickly. They found Dr. Reddick next to a car suffering from multiple gunshot wounds. She was taken to UNC Rockingham Hospital, where she was pronounced deceased. And police were able to apprehend the suspect, this man right here, as he attempted to flee the scene. He was identified as John Michael Powell, age 35, of Newport News. Police say the shooting was the result of an ongoing domestic dispute between Dr. Riddick and Powell, who is reportedly, again, to be her child's father. Powell is charged with one count of first-degree murder and discharging a firearm into occupied property. And as expected, when he appeared before the court, his bond was denied. And this is only the beginning, a snapshot of intimate partner violence, domestic abuse, any name that you choose to use. A snapshot that crosses all ages, all socioeconomic status, and different races / ethnic groups. But we're not done yet. There's much more to come. So I hope you'll join me for my next video where we plan to continue to profile the faces of the fallen, all as a result of intimate partner violence in our state in the Carolinas. And that's all I have for you right now. Feel free to leave me a comment below and let me know what you think about this video. And by all means, feel free to like it and to share it. And if you haven't done so already, I want to invite you to subscribe to my channel by clicking on that right subscribe button. It's on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. And if you click on the bell that looks just like this one, that's a notification bell. If you click on that notification bell, you'll be the first to know whenever a new video is uploaded. I thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.